There are actually ways to buy a property for free without using your own money.
You pick people from Philippines. Like, why Philippines? Like, why not people from our country?
There used to be a time where I used to spend, I think, 12 hours a day working on this. After using people's leverage, meaning after using people, I have to put around 4 hours a day right now. You can even buy cars using other people's money, and people might come up to me and say, okay, you can use a credit card for that. Why do you need other people's money? I would say Bangladesh is not a good market for real estate yet.
Case of like trust issues or reliability, মানে এখানে কেমনে তোমরা হচ্ছে গিয়ে কভার করো?
Airbnb will work in Bangladesh, but in certain areas. বাংলাদেশে যে হোলসেল করা যাবে, owning that contract and selling it to an investor, ওই জিনিসটাও বাংলাদেশে আমার দেখা মতো এখন আমি দেখি।
If I'm financially stable, then I should follow my passion. And if I am not financially stable, of course, I need money. So I should do the thing which gives me instant money.
But in general, বাংলাদেশের মার্কেটস নিয়ে যদি বলি Airbnb করা যাবে ভালো মতো। Even for business at this point, like business বলতে পারো আমার তো like I don't have a life partner, but you can say that business is our life. So yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly podcast voice call session of our server. Today we have one of the youngest entrepreneurs, Mejba Ahmed, who's into real estate based in the US. And today we are going to dive deep into his ventures and learn from him. So, hi, Mejba. How are you?
Hey man, doing good. How are you, man?
Sure, I've been doing fine. Could you give us a small introduction about yourself and what do you do?
Yeah, for sure. So hey guys, hope you're doing well. My name is Mejba Ahmed. I just turned 21 this year, and I'm an entrepreneur based in Bangladesh, currently operating in Michigan. I own a real estate firm based in Michigan, doing wholesaling in real estate. Yeah, that's what I do actually. I'm the real estate guy, really into real estate markets and investments in general. So yeah,
So, okay, so how did you start this out? Like, what was your stepping stone?
what was okay? How did I start? Well, it all started in pandemic when me and my family members we went through a financial distress. So as being the eldest son of the family, I realized that I need to take control of the situation, given the fact that my dad was unavailable at that very moment. So I decided to learn some skills, learn marketing on the side, a bit of sales. Eventually started applying to a lot of startups who were raising funds. So I went to wellfound.com, formerly known as InvestorLive or AngelList. I just went there, applied for jobs, and eventually I landed in a real estate firm. Worked there for around 1.5 years, learned about real estate, and then using that network that I got from the job, I eventually started out my own firm. And then yeah, here we are, doing pretty good.
Okay. So, sitting in Bangladesh while having your company based in the US, what hurdles have you faced and how did you overcome this?
What hurdles did I face? Well, managing a team would definitely be one of those. It's really hard to lead a team sitting from Bangladesh because there are different time zones. Um, yeah, a lot of things that need to be accounted. Since the office is based in the US, I usually work with a lot of virtual assistants. So there's a lot of direction going on. You know, you need to provide them with the right SOPs, provide them with the right directions, and yeah, a lot of communication gaps happen. So yeah, that's about it. We went through a lot of communication gaps, trying to fulfill those.
Okay. Why did you specifically pick this field rather than like any other, marketing or sales? Like, why only real estate?
I never really planned on getting into real estate actually. It was all because I wanted to make the most out of what I already knew. So since I've already worked in a real estate startup before, I used that knowledge to empower my own venture. Since I already knew about an industry and I had all the connections, I knew the people. So I decided to utilize that rather than spending time in other industries. Of course, there were other industries as well. People get into private equity, they get into a really big markets, private equity, M&A. So yeah, real estate was the one for me since this was the field that I knew the most about and had the most knowledge about. So it was a clear go for me.
Okay, so what was your inspiration to, like, what was
Mhm.
your inspiration for this? Like, real estate.
Well, Yes, I think the question would most. Okay, so well, I was really inspired by this entrepreneur who was really into real estate. I think his name started with something Gary or something. I'm not really sure about it, but yeah, he really got into. He I think he provides free education on YouTube regarding real estate. There's a guy called Jerry Norton. I used to watch his videos. So seeing how the game actually works, because I think for every single entrepreneur, business ventures are their own babies. It's like taking care of a baby, right? So you start from the very beginning, you go through all the hurdles and you build a company. And I think real estate is a game that is really fun, given the fact that when I actually started learning about the industry, uh, and just to give you guys a gist, there are actually ways to buy a property for free without using your own money. So that really intrigued me. And then I started learning about the markets and I actually found out how you can do it. So yeah, that's where it all started. That's where the kick started.
Okay, so you said you could buy a property without actually using any money, right?
Right.
Did I hear that right?
Yes, you did.
So what's the sauce about it? Could you tell us
Well,
more?
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, there are different niches of services, of course. The thing that we do is called wholesaling. What we actually do is that we find a normal home owner who's who could be a tired landlord, could be someone who just wants to get rid of the properties, isn't being able to pay their mortgages off. So we go to them. They're probably trying to sell their house already. So we go to them and then try to negotiate the price on the property, and then we do a very low ball offer on them, and we get the property under contract, and then we sell it at a higher price to an investor who's a fix and flipper who's going to be fixing the property and selling it on a higher resale value to bank, and that's where we make our profits. So yeah, about getting a property for free. Well, there are a lot of lenders in the industry, private money lenders and short-term lenders. So what we do is we reach out to them and we sign an agreement that okay, you're going to be lending us money for this amount of time, and then we acquire the property with that money, and then we put the property on Airbnb to get a steady cash flow out of the property. So we use the cash flow money to pay out the money to the private money lenders, eventually getting the property for free.
Okay, could you explain a bit how does Airbnb or Travella for Bangladesh work? Like when it for not for Bangladesh, how does it work in general? Like what do you do while like you put your house in an for or register it in Airbnb?
Well, the process for getting a house on Airbnb would be called subleasing. Well, how you can do that is there are different factors that make a good Airbnb property. Number one is, of course, choosing the right location. Location can be a really volatile thing while choosing properties for Airbnb. You should always go for tourism places like Indonesia, Florida, Miami. These are good markets for Airbnb because a lot of people go there to travel, right? So it's always better to choose those locations rather than choosing low tourism locations because a lot of tourists won't be hiring, won't be renting out Airbnb properties. So yeah, you choose the right location, talk to the owner of the property, you get it under contract, and then you sublease it using a promissory note, and then you make money out of it. There's a really well detailed way of going out there. If you want me to go through this, for sure, I can get into details. But for now, just to make things really simple for the other guys, I think this really be a framework.
So what's the like the least and the highest margins for an Airbnb? Like what's the highest margin you can keep and what's the least?
Well, if I had to give you guys an example, let's say that I were to get an Airbnb property under my name using subleasing. So what I would do is I would go to homeowners like you who owns a property. I would tell you, that, okay, can you please do a subleasing with me? I will pay you your rent, but everything above the rent, I keep it myself. And you're simply going to agree.
Okay. For example, you buy a property from a private money lender, like borrowing the money from a money lender,
Mhm.
and now you put it on Airbnb. So you still need a steady cash flow to pay the lenders
Right,
their monthly installments while making a few quick bucks yourself, right? So
right.
how does that happen? Like, what's the maximum you can charge for, let's say, a mid-sized two-bedroom apartment in Airbnb?
In Airbnb. Got it. So, well, it ranges between eight to $14,000 per month, steady cash flow before taxes. So, if you're into high margin markets, then again, it all depends on location and markets. So, if the property is in good shape, there's no rehab costs needed to be done. You can simply rent out a place for eight to $10,000 per month on average. That is before taxes. And then, yeah, it ranges up to, if you're leasing out a condo or a three-way home, a single family house, it really goes up to 12 to 18,000 even, very easily. So you can get a steady cash flow of a minimum of 8,000 to a maximum 18 grand a month.
Okay. Okay, coming back to your real estate farm and moving away from Airbnb, given the fact you're based in Bangladesh while your company is in US, the time difference is a lot. So how do you manage it? Like you still have your uni classes,
Mhm.
your social life, and you also have this. So how do you manage all these things?
The answer would be leverage. Learn how to leverage people. I use people's time every single time, because since we have a limited amount of time in our own lives, I think the clear answer would be to leverage people who actually has time and are willing to give the time to the company. So what I do is I hire a team of virtual assistants, especially from Philippines. They're hella cheap. So I hire a team of virtual assistants from Philippines. I train them using our SOP, standard operating procedure, and then they just take it from there, and it's just communication from them. So there used to be a time where I used to spend, I think, 12 hours a day working on this. After using people's leverage, meaning after using people, I have to put around 4 hours a day right now, which is not even that much. So it's all about using leverage and using people's time to actually create more room for yourself to grow a network, since time is a resource and it is a scarce resource. So that's what I
Okay,
do.
so so you said you pick people from Philippines. Like why
Yes.
Philippines? Like why not people from our country? Like what's wrong?
Well, there's nothing wrong with our country. It's just that they don't have the right qualifications and they're not skilled enough. It's not even about qualification. As long as you can prove yourself that you're worth it and you're able to do the work, you're able to get the job done, we will take you. I still remember, I was open to taking Bangladeshi people while we acquisitions company, and I did interview some people from Bangladesh. And all I noticed was that they do have some certificates. They did get some certificates done, but they couldn't portray their talent. It just
Okay.
felt very misguided, because they were telling us, okay, I got trained from the really high sales training. I'm really good at sales. I can give you leads or whatnot. Everything seemed okay in the resume. But when we started the training, we usually have a training phase of 1 week. And then after 1 week, we can see if you're performing well or not. And then we decide if we want to keep you or let you off. So after that training period, we just came to realize that, okay, he's not meeting up with our goals and expectations. So it might not be a good fit for us. But options to Bangladesh are always open. Anyone who wants to apply is always welcome to our company, as long as they have the drive to get things done. They have the drive to grow in the company, and of course, have bigger incentives.
Okay. Your firm is based in the US. Do you plan to expand to other countries? Or do you plan to expand to this country?
Well, the answer would be no, because
Why not?
the thing that we do, wholesaling real estate, is only valid in the US and Canada. So, given the fact that Canada's housing prices are really high, it's really hard for employees or even first-time home buyers to purchase a home in Canada, because they have to give a big down payment, which will roughly cost them almost half of their lifespan. So, yeah, we can say that it's a market bubble. How the prices are rising, it's not making it easy for the normal citizens to purchase a house. Hence, there's not much activity for the services that we provide in real estate in Canada. So for Canada, it's a clear no. But since you're asking me about Bangladesh as well, I would give the same answer about Bangladesh. But in Bangladesh's real estate market, based on what I know, they only focus on two sectors. Number one, rental properties, and number two, they do a lot of construction work, developers work. You'll see a lot of people putting out ads that, okay, we're developing houses in this areas, buy our properties. And then they build the properties after people purchase their property on the get-go, not even bought. So yeah, about Bangladesh, it's the same issue. People just cannot afford to get their own house if we were to talk about normal citizens, because if you see the average salary of a Bengali, it's going to be around 30K on average. So if you even calculate it by 20 years of their life, they still cannot buy a house. They cannot afford the down payment. Hence, we're not really planning to expand our operations to Bangladesh even. It's all about the affordability of consumers to actually purchase a house, because if they don't have a house in the first place, we will not be able to provide them with our service. Hence,
Okay,
we will
so
not be able to expand. Yeah.
so you gave me a clear picture of how Bangladeshi real estate, quote unquote, works. Uh, how does US real estate work? Like, what are the key points or special things that make it, you know, an open field to play, I guess?
Mhm. Well, I would say financing options. There are a lot of financing options. There's creative finance, there's seller finance. I'll touch up to those in a bit. Basically, in the US, you can use other people's money to actually buy properties. You can even buy cars using other people's money, and people might come up to me and say, okay, you can use a credit card for that. Why do you need other people's money? Well, the amount of money that you're going to be raising, right, raising $200,000, $400,000 from a bank would require you to have a business plan. But if you were to raise $400,000 from a private money lender, number one, the cost is going to be super low. There's little to no interest rate for that. And then second of all, you would be able to raise thousands to even millions of dollars even from private money lenders. So it's way easier to access the money from private money lenders. And the financing options that the US government provides is amazing for houses. They also do a refinance on the properties, meaning if you have a property that you're not being able to sell, you can simply go to the bank and ask for a refinance. So they're going to be giving you 80% of the house's market value if you're happy with it. So there are a lot of financing uh, capabilities that the US government is able to do right now at this very moment, but it is not possible for the Canadian government or the Bangladeshi government to provide the same amount of services, which is why US is a clear winner for real estate.
So having options in securing finance is what makes it easier for anyone with a whole team or like a partial team to enter the market in the US. But doesn't that make it a bit too competitive? Like,
It is a
is
lot
it?
competitive. It is a lot competitive. Well, yes.
Yeah, no, go on, go on.
Well, in US, there are different speculations that, I mean, the government is making changes that wholesaling should be illegal in the US. The operations that we do should be legal. Why? Well, as I said, there's a lot of competitions. There are a lot of people who don't even know how to do the service. They do not even know how to wholesale properties. So what they do is they go to a seller, just run their time, make them sign documents, and then just waste their time. And there's this bad reputation for wholesalers. So of course, there's two sides of the coin. As wholesalers, we do have enemies ourselves. So real estate agents are actually our enemies because they cannot see us. We make more money than them. So in our real estate community, they made a lot of speculations for different states, telling that wholesaling should be banned. So in a lot of states, you actually need a real estate license to wholesale, which is really hard for wholesalers. So it makes it harder for wholesalers to enter the market anyways. Um, but yeah, other than that, it's a really competitive field. It's clearly getting a bad reputation for its work, but it's not really that bad if you deal with the right wholesalers. But yeah, the government is trying to enforce laws that will make it harder for people to enter the market to ensure that, okay, quality people are entering the market knowing what they're getting into.
Okay, so given with the current economy, um, would you advise a person who has a considerable amount of savings to invest, be it like US or yeah, like compare it to US and Bangladesh. Like how would you advise to a person who's who has who has a considerable amount of money and they're wanting to get into this real estate part of the world?
If I were to speak about Bangladesh, I would say Bangladesh is not a good market for real estate yet. It's not a good market yet. If you were to build properties for people and then sell it before, using the property management business model, sure, you can go ahead. But if I had little amount of money, if I were an employee and I saved up 30 grand for me to invest in real estate, I would invest in Airbnb properties because with 30 grand, I can actually access 30 properties if I want to using Airbnb, using the subleasing model. So yeah, in US, you can actually put 30,000 into Airbnb and eventually make 300,000 out of it.
Sorry,
Because
it eventually makes what?
eventually make 300 grand monthly using that money.
So so
Using,
so you're saying if I put in a $30,000
Mhm.
investment, I could get a 300,000 return.
Not really a return. Basically, if you Airbnb properties using that money,
Yeah.
meaning the subleasing model that I talked about. If you invest 1,000 using the subleasing method, you can
Mhm.
access the property in Airbnb, meaning
Okay.
you can go to the owner, say to them, hey, can I please invest in your property? I can get you your rent, and everything that I make on top of it would be my fee. And they're going to be like, yeah, sure, why not? So you sign a subleasing agreement with them, and then you sublease the property on Airbnb, which brings you on 10 grand, and you give 2 grand to the owner, and you keep 8 grand to yourself. And the only spend that you have is 1K on this. So imagine if you did this with 30 properties, how much money would you make?
Uh,
Almost, almost close to 120 grand, possibly more than that.
that's
So
not bad. That's not bad. That's amazing.
yeah, that's going to be bringing you in cash flow. And I know this guy called Asan, who is a really fun guy who knows his shit, right? So this guy owns 50 doors, meaning 50 properties in the US, in Miami, and I think he's pulling around 500,000 monthly in revenue.
In revenue, that is.
Yeah, in revenue.
Is he based like his company is also based in the US, right?
Yes, yes. His company is based in the US as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's fun. Okay, so what is your future plan with your baby, like your company?
Yeah. Well, given the fact that wholesaling might be banned by the government, we are planning to diversify our operations. Well, there is a sector called overages. Let me go through that real quick. Basically, a lot of people you'll see lose their houses because they cannot pay their mortgage, right? So what the government does is that they take the property over and then they try to sell it at an auction so that they sell the property and they have a law for it. After they sell the property in the auction, the money, a part of the money, belongs to the owner who they took it from. So they give a time period of 30 to 60 days. If they do not reclaim the property, they're going to be losing out on the money. So the government keeps the money after that. But here's the catch. Most citizens, they do not even know about this, that they can reclaim their money. So you will see people missing out on $100,000, $80,000, possibly more than that, just because of it. So what we are planning to do is that we're going to be going to the local counties and we're going to be pulling out data to trace those data and then call them and saying, hey, we can actually get your money back for you, but we're going to charge this amount of money. So what we're going to do is basically if they're supposed to claim 100 grand, we're going to be giving them 40 grand and keep 60 grand ourselves. All they need is money at that moment because they lost their house, they lost their credit score, they lost almost everything. They cannot even acquire a loan. So they're pretty effed up, honestly. So they would love to have some money to back them up at that very moment, and that's where we come in. So that's our next diversification plan that we're planning to do. Our overage services, basically a surplus fund. That's where that's what we're planning to do. Other than that, definitely the Airbnb project. We are planning to do subleasing that because that's a really good cash flow machine. Uh, Works in recession, it can be easily sold to the bank. So yeah, Airbnb on the side and the surplus funds on the side. We are planning to do, I think, within the next quarter of the year, we're planning to hit 1.5 million in revenue, if that's possible. So yeah, that's about it.
Damn, that's some big words. Okay, so my questions are done. The other members, if you have any questions, you can ask Meshwa. Thank you, Meshwa.
You're most welcome.
Oh, Mejba, that was something, man. Like a lot of information in just short period of time. Thank you so much. My question to you is, what do you think about the Airbnb model in Bangladesh? Like, if I have like, আমার যদি বাসা থাকে, and should I ভাড়াই it or should I give it to Airbnb? Like ভাড়াই দিব নাকি Airbnb
Well,
তে দিব?
if you have
Which
properties
prefer?
in places where foreigners visit, let's say Gulshan Bonini, where people actually rent out apartments if they come from abroad. So if you can actually if you have a property in Gulshan or Bonani, you should definitely Airbnb on those because you'll see a lot of tourists visiting those places, living there. So you can actually get a good bang for your buck because they're willing to pay more. They have that affordability. So Airbnb will work in Bangladesh, but in certain areas only. I wouldn't suggest areas like, Dhanmondi or, somewhere around those places.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes totally sense.
So Airbnb does work in
Yeah.
Bangladesh. Yes. Very niche though. Very niche.
Uh, yeah, like এয়ারপোর্টের সাইডের এরিয়াগুলো
Yeah,
would be
Uttara is
best,
nice as
I think.
well. Some places in Uttara, they're nice as well. So yeah, you could definitely do a subleasing, make a good ton of money.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Like when does the foreigner take Airbnb instead of like a hotel?
Well, I see a trend in
Like,
foreigners, honestly. They do not, they want to be well integrated into the culture. So they would rather prefer homes that they
mm,
own rather than going to hotels. And yeah, hotels are much expensive than houses if we were to compare the prices. Um, so yeah, they would always prefer that. They would always want to see the first person's perspective in Bangladesh, how it feels like to be a Bengali in this country. So they're always willing to experience that culture, that thrill of living as a Bengali. So they're willing to spend that amount of money for it if needed.
yeah, that makes totally sense. If you take Airbnb, you know the interface and the rules that you need to follow instead of like talking with some Bengali. They may be know English or might not
Yeah,
know English. So
yeah, for sure.
in the hotel.
Yes.
So there is that. Okay, now আমরা দেখতে পারতেছি like in Bangladesh road infrastructure are increasing, MRT হইতেছে and all that. তো ওইখানে তোমার কি মনে হয়? What do you think about Sylhet and Chittagong area? ওইসব এরিয়াতে তোমার housing market কি হইতে পারে? Do you think it will go up or something? Like if there is any opportunity over there instead of only in Dhaka?
Well, property prices always go up, regardless of what. But এদিকে I
Hmm.
would say there's some, yeah, I think the places that you mentioned, if they have good infrastructure, if they're working on it, there's definitely a chance for it to for the property prices to rise. Right now, I'm seeing that Bosila has a good boom in its rates. Like people are moving to Bosila, they're beating a lot of properties really good. If you move to let's say Chittagong, there are some places. I don't know the places to be very specific with you, but I do know some people who are investing heavily in Chittagong as well, especially in resorts. So yeah, there's that. Property prices are increasing. So
To keep
that would be my answer, honestly. I'm not really that knowledgeable about Bangladesh's market, but if you have any other questions, for sure, go ahead.
আমি হয়তোবা অনেক শুরুর দিকে অনেক কিছু মিস করছি। আই এম সরি ফর দ্যাট। আমি একটু বাইরে ছিলাম, আস্তে আস্তে লেট হয়ে গেছে। হ্যাঁ, না আমি একটুখানি মানে ইফ ইউ হ্যাভ এক্সপ্লেইনড ইট, আই উইল সি ইট ব্যাক লেটার যখন হচ্ছে রেকর্ডিং শেষ হবে। বাট আই ওয়ান্টেড টু আস্ক লাইক হাউ ডু ইউ প্রসেস ইউর রিয়েল এস্টেট মার্কেট অ্যাব্রড?
How do I process the real estate market abroad? Well, in terms of
হ্যাঁ,
investments, like in terms of the growth.
or I'm more curious about the whole operation. Like, what do you do there that is a little bit
Mhm.
different than the traditional way of doing real
Right.
estate?
Well, আমি যা করি, I wholesale properties, meaning I reach out to homeowners like you guys. If you guys need to sell your property, I usually go to you guys and then get the property at a lower price of the market value. And then I get it under contract and I sell that contract to an fix and flipper who is an investor. I sell that contract to in a higher price. Basically, let's say that আমি তোমার থেকে একটা বাসা নিলাম। তোমার বাসার দাম ৳১,০০,০০০ কথার কথা। এখন ওই বাসাটা আমি নিলাম 80,000 এ। ওইটা বাসার মার্কেট ভ্যালু
হুম,
দেখলাম is 140. So what I'm gonna do is that আমি বাসাটা since 80,000 নিছি, I'm gonna be selling that বাসা to 1,10,000 to an investor, and the spread that I'm making on this is my profit, and the বাকি গ্যাপটা আছে ওইটা investor profit. So that's what we do আরকি।
আচ্ছা
Um, in wholesaling real estate.
আচ্ছা, মানে এটা তোমাদের অপারেশনস ইউএস
Right,
বেসড।
হ্যাঁ, US based.
সো ইট ইজ ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টিং। মানে হচ্ছে গিয়ে মানে হাউ মানে জেনুইনলি কোয়েশ্চেন যেটা আসলে হচ্ছে যত একটা জিনিস বোঝার চেষ্টা করো
হ্যাঁ,
তত
হ্যাঁ,
আগে
অবশ্যই।
কোয়েশ্চেন আসে। সো বিগ কোয়েশ্চেন দ্যাট কামস নেক্সট ইজ লাইক হাউ ডু ইউ সোর্স ইউর লিডস?
Really good question. Well, we have different platforms for it, and we did hire multiple virtual assistants for it. So what we do is we go to platforms like Zillow, basically Bashabari Daras, if I were to say in Bangla, Bashabari Daras that is. So we go to Zillow, we go to Redfin, uh, we go to several platforms like that, and we source out the leads ওইখান থেকে. We use our virtual assistants, and they source out the leads in an Excel sheet. তারপরে we use cold callers to call those people, and then we get the properties in a lower market value.
That is more interesting part.
Mm-hmm.
মানে লিডটা পাওয়া, স্পেশালি if I'm not wrong, তোমরা তো রিমোট
Right,
অফিস, তাই না?
remote.
তো রিমোট অফিসে এরকম একটা জিনিস কনভার্ট করা, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য মোস্ট ইন্টারেস্টিং পার্ট আই থিঙ্ক। সো ইন কেস অফ লাইক
Mhm.
ট্রাস্ট ইস্যুস or
Right.
reliability, মানে এখানে কেমনে তোমরা হচ্ছে গিয়ে কভার করো?
Well, reliability বলতে টিমের উপর reliability.
মানে অনেক সময় হয় কিরকম, যেমন হচ্ছে গিয়ে উই বিলিভ ইন আ ফিজিবল শোরুম, যে অথবা একটা মানে অফিস, যে এই অফিস থাকলে পরে এখানে রিলায়েবিলিটি আছে। আই ডোন্ট নো, মানে ফরেন মার্কেটে হয়তো ডিফারেন্ট। বাংলাদেশের মার্কেটটা যেটা আমরা ভেরিফাই দেখি, যে অফিস আছে তাহলে ওদেরকে একটু বিশ্বাস করা যায়। আমরা ওকে কাছে তখন একটু বলতে পারি, ভাই আমার অফিসের প্রপার্টি, আমাকে একটা প্রপার্টি দেখান, অথবা আমাকে একটা প্রপার্টি করে দেন। লাইক ইভেন বি প্রপার্টি, যদি বাংলাদেশের একটা উদাহরণ দিই, এদের কাজ বেশিরভাগই হচ্ছে গিয়ে অনলাইন লিড বেস। তারপর দে হ্যাভ টু হ্যাভ লাইক মাল্টিপল অফিস অ্যারাউন্ড দ্য ঢাকা সিটি এন্ড চট্টগ্রাম সিটি, so that they can
Credibility.
get that
Right,
trust from the leads
right.
they are
Credibility
collecting.
থাকে তাদের একটা ব্র্যান্ড নেমে। Right. So আমরা যেটা এই জিনিসটাকে ট্যাকল করি is that we work with several realty companies. We work with brokers as well. So এদিকে আমাদের একটা reputation তো create হইছেই। ওইটার উপর দিক দিয়ে I think US markeটে I think most of them do not even like to visit our office most of the time because they're lazy, to be very honest. So এদিকে what we have is we have our own website, which is very user friendly. Um, we actually personalize the website according to their needs. So দেখা যাচ্ছে যে আমাদের website there's two sections, one for investors and one for home buyers, basically যারা home sell করতে চাচ্ছে. So they can fill out a form giving us all of their details, and then we can present them with an offer. And then we send those details to the investors who signed up for our membership. We use a monthly retainer on that as well. ওইখান থেকে we give them the property that they want. So they're getting deals from us, and we charge them a subscription fee. And of course, if they close a deal from us, we keep some commission off that as well. So yeah, we're moving towards SaaS আস্তে আস্তে using that.
Mention the technology, like technology itself will convert and
Mhm.
everything. That is a very beautiful, like তোমাদের মেইন ফর্মুলাটা হচ্ছে তোমাদের
Right.
অপারেশন। দ্যাট ইজ ভেরি বিউটিফুল। মানে এটা বিদেশে বেশি কাজ করে, বাংলাদেশের জন্য তো এটা এখনো লাইক আই নো লাইক উই নিড আ লট অফ টাইম টু গেট ইউজ টু দিস কাইন্ড অফ প্রসেস, বিকজ এরকম ভেরি কনসেপ্ট বি প্রপার্টি হওয়া সত্ত্বেও দে হ্যাভ টু রেন্ট আ অফিস এন্ড এভরিথিং, এটা সত্যি তাদেরকেও স্ট্রাগল করতে হয়।
Right. On-
আহ, না, আমার কোশ্চেনই ওটাই ছিল বা কমেন্টই ওটা ছিল।
বুঝতে পারছি। Now, these are really nice questions, honestly. Um, any more questions? I would love to answer any more questions.
Friends, এর মধ্যে আর কি যেটা বলা হয় যে হোয়াটস নেক্সট ফর ইউ, if I have to ask, like we get to know about like interest, your expertise, what you think about Bangladesh market. Like now, what's your plan in Bangladesh market, or like in your journey ahead?
Okay, what's next for me? Well, real estate আমার জন্য একটা bridge for me to go from one industry to another industry, because আমি যে ইন্ডাস্ট্রিতে লং টার্মে থাকতে চাই, that's going to be private equity. Um, so basically it's a business of buying businesses, acquiring businesses আর কি. So real estate is of course a vehicle to afford that business. কিন্তু right now যদি real estate বলি, we are planning to diversify our operations অনেকটা. Um, not in different markets, because financing এর যে কি বলে capabilities গুলো আছে USA তে। যেরকম কি we can use a private money lender to fund our deals. We can use other people's money to gather huge amount of loans and then, use them as a financing term. Creative financing ways আছে। বাংলাদেশে I feel like অনেক কিছু ওরকম নাই। বাংলাদেশে at least. And বাংলাদেশে যে wholesale করা যাবে, owning that contract and selling it to an investor, ওই জিনিসটাও বাংলাদেশে আমার দেখা মতো এখন আমি দেখি নাই। তো এই কারণে
আছে খুব ছোট অ্যামাউন্টে, মানে অনেক নিশ
হুম,
একটা মার্কেট এবং অনেক সিন্ডিকেটেড একটা প্রসেসে থাকে, মানে লাইক ট্রাস্টেবল সোর্স দিলে তাহলে এরকম একটা সিচুয়েশন আছে এখনো
বুঝতে
বাংলাদেশে।
পারছি। মানে it's not matured yet, তাই তো?
ইয়েস।
So, which is why we are not really planning to expand to Bangladesh. But in general, বাংলাদেশের markets নিয়ে যদি বলি, Airbnb করা যাবে ভালো মতো। People can make good money using Airbnb, especially places like Gulshan, Bolani, even tourism places. তো ওই জায়গায়ও ভালো মতো Airbnb করা যাবে because a lot of foreigners are actually traveling to Bangladesh. I don't know if you guys saw, a lot of বিদেশি influencers are visiting Bangladesh. Food vlogs করে, অনেক কিছু
ইয়েস,
করে। So,
অনেক
yeah,
বড়
yeah.
করছে এটা।
And it's a trend going on. Like people are actually coming more and more to Bangladesh. They are really liking our culture. They're loving our culture, in fact. And I feel like most of the people, they will not even prefer hotels in the first place because they want to live as Bengalis themselves. They want to be deeply integrated into our culture. So yes, Airbnb definitely has a place. আর যদি বাকি জিনিসের কথা বলি, using the properties as rentals, uh, the rental game would be a bit tough because returns are not that good, তেমন rental returnটা. But other than that, Airbnb is a good one.
ভেঞ্চার টাইপের, মানে ৪-৫টা নতুন রিয়েল এস্টেট কোম্পানি আর কি তৈরি হয়েছে। এর ভিতরে একটা হচ্ছে জমি জমা, সম্ভবত if I'm not wrong, একটা
Mm-hmm.
স্টার্ট আপের নাম। হোয়াট দে আর ডুইং নাও ইজ, মানে একটা প্রসেস আছে আমাদের দেশে খুব পপুলার, সেটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে একসাথে ১০-১৫ জন মিলে একটা প্রপার্টি কিনে ওখানে
Right,
বাড়ি
right.
তোলে। হ্যাঁ, তো এরকম একটা প্রসেসকে তারা আর কি এখন মানে কমার্শিয়ালাইজ
Mm-hmm.
করছে। Okay, they are collecting few investors or people who want to buy house or make house in a very cheap rate. So they are collecting them and converting them. হ্যাঁ, তো এটা আর কি রিসেন্টলি আমার চোখে পড়ছে। So I want to know, like, what's your take on this kind of venture? Like, how do you see that? Or do you think like it's a profitable thing that will sustain in future? Or বাংলাদেশে হয়তো বা এরকম মার্কেট আরো হয়তো ফিউচার ক্রিয়েট হবে। So what would be your comment on this kind of process?
Well, this was something very new for me as well. I never really uh, actually got the chance to deeply see what Bangladesh real estate market has to offer. And এদিকে seeing startups like this really opens my eyes sometimes, honestly, because এদিকে, yes, I did see the process. এদিকে people are actually gathering up and investing in a property and then selling it at a cheaper price, making it affordable for Bengalis in general. And of course, startups like this would sustain to a level, I think it will only sustain to a point where people can afford it. If it goes out of their affordability, তখন it's going to be an issue. If that ends up creating a market bubble আর কি. So other than that, I think startups like this should be encouraged. Government should take more notice. Like they should take these startups more into account. Probably even fund them even because this will definitely make it easier for people to afford properties. So yeah, these are pretty good startups in my opinion. These should be encouraged.
Acha, what happens if someone like takes a home in Airbnb and like messes the home up? Like যাওয়ার টাইমে হোমটারে পুরা নষ্ট করে গেল, then what happens? Like তখন তো তাকে accountability
Right.
তাকে পাবা না আর কোথাও। Like if that ever happens or what. Foreignerদের ক্ষেত্রে I guess it's different, but
Well,
বাংলাদেশে
look, there are pros
I
and
don't
cons
know.
to everything, right? So this is a risk that you have to endure আর কি। এটা হয়, এমন না যে হয় না, হয় এটা। But yeah,
Mm,
property-তে কোনো damages হলে you'll have to be the one who will fix it up. So yeah, that's how it usually works.
But if that happens, মানে ধরো তোমার একটা লিজ করা প্রপার্টিতে এসে ও কোনো কিছু উল্টাপাল্টা কাজ করছে, don't you guys take a security money for it? যে we are keeping it if we find any damages, um, তো ওইটা দিয়ে আমরা
mm.
এটা like adjust
Well,
করে নিব, like how about that?
Uh, No, I guess Airbnb তে এটা possible না because you are buying the home from an app.
no,
So,
we are not. Look, I think you guys are getting a
you
wrong
know,
idea. We are not really buying properties Airbnb. We are renting places out. So yeah, well, most of the time, the owner will be responsible for repairing everything, but of course, it goes to a certain extent. If the tenant doesn't intentionally, if there is a way to prove that, of course, we can file a complaint against them, against that tenant. So we can charge them তখন. Other than that, if that, small occurrences happen, তখন we will take over that part because that's a part of our customer service at that point. So of course, there are certain extents to this.
I
Hello,
guess makes
Majid.
sense.
I'm sorry if I didn't catch you talking about this, but if I'm not wrong, you started from the scratch and you had a financial problem, right? How
Right.
did you start from the scratch, manage the money to start the whole thing?
Well, I worked in a real estate startup from the very first go. I mean, I don't know if you remember, well, I think, yeah, in the time of pandemic, I started learning skills. Started learning about sales. So my core skill was actually persuasion, sales. I knew how to sell, so I was applying to sales jobs, sales rep, remote closer, um, SDR. I was applying for those jobs, and then eventually I landed upon a real estate firm. I started working there as a lead generation specialist, and then slowly but surely, I started gradually um getting into the acquisitions part. I started dealing with actual homeowners who had trouble selling their properties. I started learning about how the business worked. And then eventually, since I was working there, I saved up enough money to actually start up my own company after that because using that firm, uh, I made really valuable connections. I had a network abroad. I knew people who I can trust. I even, luckily, I had access to my family members, of course. My family members did play a significant role in this, um, getting done with the LLC and whatnot. But yeah, I used the money from the job that I had and then started my own firm from that very moment. I worked in the company for 1.5 years, and then I started the company with two of my colleagues, and then we started out
I see, thanks.
anytime.
আচ্ছা, what are the main challenges that you guys face like when you're like in your business, like তোমার পার্টিকুলার বিজনেসে সবচেয়ে বড় চ্যালেঞ্জটা কি যেটা তোমরা বারবার ফেস করে এবং বারবার এটাকে ওভারকাম করা লাগবে?
Wow, acha, proving them that we're actually legit because real estate industry there are a lot of shady people in this industry. The services that we provide, wholesaling, actually has a bad reputation in itself because um, অনেক বাঙালি ভাষায় যদি বলি অনেক আনাড়িরা ঢুকে এই গেমে, সো দে এন্ড আপ ওয়েস্টিং ইনভেস্টার্স টাইম। বাসা বাড়ি যারা ফ্রাস্ট্রেশনে বেচতে চাচ্ছে তাদেরও টাইম অনেক ওয়েস্ট করে। তো দেখা যায় যে দে ফাইল কমপ্লেইন্টস এগেইনস্ট দেম And এই কারণে গভর্নমেন্ট what government did is that তারা প্রত্যেকটা স্টেটের মধ্যে কিছু regulations implement করছে যে in order to wholesale real estate you need to be a licensed realtor, which is really hard for someone because they need to study for I think 1.2-ish years and then get a license on top of it. So they're addressing some boundaries. কিছু মানুষ they are even making wholesaling illegal. তো এই কারণে মানে I think the main challenges would be to actually prove people that okay we are legit. বারবার এটা করা লাগে। তো এখনো করা লাগে honestly, giving them the credibility. Um, it is a hard thing to do. অনেক persuade করা লাগে, brand name দেওয়া লাগে, বারবার বোঝানো লাগে যে okay we actually have a good reputation in this industry. তাদেরকে বারবার refer করা লাগে that okay there are a lot of shady people in this industry who might actually waste your time. So হ্যাঁ, I think এটাকে tackle করার জন্য what we are planning to do is that there's a big community for realtors and brokers. So we are trying to build our own community for wholesalers so that every single wholesaler can be united and then they can eventually work with the public sector and make wholesaling legal uh, in many states যেদিকে এখন illegal করা আছে because যে markets illegal করা আছে those markets are really profitable for us even. So we are eventually missing out on a lot of opportunities ourselves. So
You mentioned South. South বলতে কোন স্টেট গুলোর দিকে তোমরা বেশি?
I'm sorry.
তুমি বললা সাউথের দিকে, তো সাউথের দিকে কোন স্টেট গুলোর মানে মূলত এরকম বেশি ফেস করে?
Well, I'm not sure if I mentioned South, but yeah, if I had to say some states, it would be Texas. Texas requires a license for wholesaling. Arizona does as well. Pennsylvania to lage. So these states are really profitable for wholesalers and investors. So ওই জায়গায় কিছু regulations enforce করা হয়েছে. They're making it harder for people to enter the wholesaling game, which is a good thing but a bad thing at the same time. So we are actually trying to work with our own community. We are planning to partner up with the biggest wholesalers in the country and eventually uh, enforcing some laws itself so that wholesaling can be legal in every single state. People can actually wholesale because it is eventually saving lives in some ways.
হ্যাঁ, এটা তো অবশ্যই every business exists because they are tackling a certain
Right,
challenges, making people's
right,
life easy. That is why business exists in first place.
right.
ওকে, আর আরেকটা জিনিস হচ্ছে গিয়ে যেহেতু হচ্ছে গিয়ে ল্যান্ডের কথা আছে, তার মানে তো ইউএসএ আর ল্যান্ড বিজনেসে একটা বড় পার্টি হচ্ছে
Right.
ট্যাক্সেস। তো হাউ ট্যাক্স লাইক হাউ ডু ইউ হ্যান্ডেল দ্যাট পার্ট?
Well, to be very honest, I'm not really knowledgeable about the tax part. Um, but এদিকে I feel like one of my partner, his name is Rafsan Lazim. He's one of the co-founders in the company. So he deals with the tax part himself. I usually specialize in managing people, um, getting them,
দ্য
yes,
হোল
the
অপারেশন
whole
অফ ইট।
operations part. So he deals with the finances and tax. I think he has a tax accountant for it as well. So yeah, that's how we are.
মানে এটা এটা বললাম কারণ হচ্ছে কি লাইক ইউএসএ ইন
Mm-hmm.
পার্টিকুলার, লাইক when it comes to real estate business, the biggest challenge is the taxes. Like the taxের ঝামেলা মেটানোর পর দেখা যায় হচ্ছে গিয়ে রিয়েল এস্টেট বিজনেসের কাছে পেইতে থাকে। ইট ইজ
Mm-hmm.
হোয়াট দে সে। অথবা যদি বলি শোনা কথা যেটা আমি শুনছি, আই ডোন্ট নো মানে রিয়ালিটি এটা
Mm.
কিরকম।
Well, I did see that there are so many ways government will try to take away your money. There are so many ways. মানে property taxes তো আছেই. I think there are 7 types of taxes on land. 7,
হ্যাঁ,
yes. So there's so
oh,
many types of taxes এদিকে property gain tax, অনেকগুলো tax আছে. Landed জন্য there's different tax. Holding tax ও আছে আবার. So our মানে I've seen those kind of taxes. I never really dig deep into it, but based on what I know, there's 7 types of taxes. for houses and lands. So government will try to take money as much as possible. So what people do is that people use this reference a lot. I think you've came across it yourself. Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, he uses debt to purchase property. That is actually a thing. So people actually use debt to buy properties, and they use more debt to buy even more properties and use the cash flow to pay off the debt. So দেখা যায় যে, since it is a debt, government cannot really charge taxes on it. So you end up saving a lot of money. Even sometimes you don't
Uh,
even pay taxes sometimes. So these are some good parts of real estate where you can save money as well. And this goes for, I think, cars as well. I think cars and real estate, they go pretty well hand in hand. The other financing ways are very similar. Creative finance cars, you can use other people's money to buy the properties or cars. So yeah, Igula ways actually real estate is a pretty good market to capture. I think the part that you missed out on, I wish you were here. Really wish you were here. Uh, there are ways to buy properties without using your money, basically for free. So,
uh,
so what we do is we go to private money lenders and then we ask them for a certain amount. We get the property not from a bank, but from someone who owns a good property. Let's say that it is Daichi for this very example. I'm taking a property from Daichi. It is Daichi's property, very very well renovated, a very good property in Miami, Florida. Uh, I'm তার থেকে propertyটা নিব using a private money lender, and I'll pay the private money lender 10 বছর পর এই কন্ট্রাক্ট আমি নিব। And এই 10 বছরের মধ্যে of course I'm going to be using the property, ওখান থেকে একটা rental yield পাবো, and এখানে of course property value বাড়বে at the time. So দেখা যাবে after that 10 years and he's going to be getting his money back for sure. He's going to be making some profit of it, but I'm going to be making more money because number one, I'm already paying him through the rental income that I have, and the property value টা বাড়ছে, ওইখান থেকেও I get to keep some parts of it. So technically, I sort of own the property and I made money on the property. So,
তাহলে তখন আমার একটা
right.
প্রশ্ন আসছে, if you're gonna like this formula works there because they have a social economical system of
Right.
credit score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like who is becoming the credit uh, like phase or eligible uh, entity who carries this credit score or carries this financial endeavor?
Well, that's going to be me because I'm buying the property under my name. So I'm going to be the one who's going to be responsible for paying his loans.
Like you as a person or you as an organization?
Well, of course, as an LLC. Yes,
Huh?
as an LLC.
As an acha, acha, as the like uh, LLC as in like the property, like
Yes.
as the organization. Uh, এটাই আর কি একটু বোঝার চেষ্টা করলাম, like I'm trying to figure out the whole formula of it and everything. This is very interesting. This is definitely the most interesting conversation.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad to provide value. Again, guys, I might not be the
Uh,
most energetic people এদিকে. I've seen a lot of people who are really energetic, but just to give you
no, সবসময় যে like it's more of like the topic has to carry that kind of
right.
weight. Yeah, real estate itself is a very serious topic. It comes with like এখানে fraud বেশি আছে, এখানে রিস্ক বেশি আছে, এখানে
Yeah,
প্রফিটও বেশি
right.
আছে. It is an asset for like a fixed asset or long term asset. That's why it is a serious topic.
Yeah, right there. So, but I would, since this is a community and I would like to add as much value as possible, I would like to share some of my personal plans because I feel like this will provide a lot of value to every single people here. Well, I was watching this video as I told you guys, real estate is a vehicle for me. So our end goal for the next venture is private equity. Basically buying businesses for free. There's a way to do that as well. Um, and then মানে বিজনেসটা গ্রো করে ওটার যে এবিটাটা হবে, লেটস সে যে আমি বিজনেসটা কিনলাম 500,000 দিয়ে, and then of course that's not going to be my own money. So then I'm going to be growing the business, making it a company of, let's say, $5 million annually, and then selling it at a 10x EBITDA multiple. Basically, আমার যে এবিটাটা থাকবে, with a 10x multiple, I can sell that company. So I will end up making, you can guess, 50 million if I do the math right. So that's how the game of business.
মানে তুমি মানে ক্যাপিটাল ভেঞ্চার ক্যাপিটালের দিকে আগানোর
Right.
চিন্তা করতেছো বেশি।
So M&A, merger acquisitions বলে অনেকজন, venture capital বলে, অনেক সময় থেকে private equity বলে. So this is what I personally would enjoy to do, because I feel like Taj Bhai can relate as well. Business itself is a game. For me, it is a game. I enjoy playing this game. It is not the মানে এখন it got to a point where I'm actually enjoying the process. I do not মানে of course there are benefits to it, but the game itself is really enjoyable. So
Definitely, it is a game of gaining or losing. You have higher stake to lose and a higher stake to win. That is why it's an interesting
exactly,
game.
exactly. So entering venture capital or private equity, the reason why it's fun is because you get to be exposed to new ideas. Onic innovative ideas will be presented to you. So ওরকম industries এ tap in করা, to learn about more industries, to actually work in those industries, creating stories. I think that's what matters to me the most, because I feel like, I don't know why, this might be my personal experience, but there was a time where I used to make wish lists. Of course, I was a teenager তখন, so I used to make wish lists. Okay, টাকা পাইলে I would buy iPhone, MacBook, ট্রিপে যাব, এটা করব. I mean, materialistic thing, of course, primarily. So I used to make those goals তখন ছোট ছোট, say, okay, টাকা পাইলে iPhone কিনবো. But when I actually started making money and when I actually got access to it, the happiness wasn't there. And I didn't seem to know why. কেন জানি ছিল না. Probably because I craved money for so long. Now I have money. It just মানে তখন,
That's a great practice
yeah,
actually.
তখন ওই গ্র্যাটিফিকেশনটা আসে না যে ওকে, I got it finally, কিন্তু কেন জানি হ্যাপিনেসটা কেক করতেছে. So it just doesn't matter to you anymore. And do you know what matters the most? Spending time with
Uh,
family members, making memories with them, because the money that you're making is actually for buying time with family members, creating memories.
that is like ultimately like our end goal. We try, we hustle so that যত উপরের লেভেলে যাব তত we get to save time to do
Exactly.
everything.
So people get this really wrong. তারা ভাবে যে আচ্ছা ল্যাম্বোতে আছি, প্রাইভেট জেট আছে, খুবই ভালো লাইফ আছি, but trust me, the more money make, the more money you make, the more stress you have. So
এটা তো
yeah,
স্বাভাবিক।
so this is a really big reality hit that I hit last week, is that যতই grow করতেছে company, it's just getting more stressful and stressful. I did get thoughts যে আচ্ছা what if I drop out? So yeah, this is getting really stressful.
Now, you actually brought up another very interesting thing right now is like how do you actually like manage this stress, like this insecurity, this stress. Okay, you know everything is like growing and you know like more responsibilities are coming, more like যেটা হয় যে আমি তো আসলে টাকা দিয়ে টাইম কেনার চেষ্টা করছি কিন্তু দিন শেষে still not enough. Like এগুলো পাইতেছি না
Right.
ওগুলো পাইতেছি না। How do you manage that? How do you control that?
Well, I try to use leverage এদিকে as much as I can. So এদিকে of course, অনেকজন, people have different perspective on this. Let's say that I actually buy people's time. Let's put it that way. So যা হয় যে I hire people from Philippines. They're often very cheap and they're pretty good at their job as well. So I buy people's time. I replace it with my own time. That ends up saving me a lot of time. So তখন যে I get to spend more time on my personal things, my academics, family members and whatnot. But then again, that's still not enough. There's this part of the day where you cannot be without work because you have worked for so long, it becomes a part of your day. So it just feels weird to not work anymore at that moment. And যাই বলো না কেন, even if you're using leverage of people, you still have to micromanage those people sometimes. দেখা যাচ্ছে যে আহ লিড লিড জেনারেশনের টিমের এই ঝামেলা হচ্ছে, তাদেরকে ফিডব্যাক দেওয়া উচিত। তারপরে the CEO is not working properly. তারপরে দেখা যাচ্ছে you need to look over this communication ঝামেলা হচ্ছে। There's always problems on this. So yes, আমার hours of course কমছে অনেক from the very beginning, এখন অনেক কমছে, but still it is basically, as humans we are never going to be satisfied with what we have. So
না, I'm not satisfied of
yeah,
what we have.
so that's where I lie in honestly. And এদিকে, to answer your question more clearly, um, I am grateful for what I have. Alhamdulillah for everything. But I'm not, I think every entrepreneur has this, that once you hit a certain target, let's say that it is $1 million, you're going to be planning how do I make the next 10 million? It's a game after all. So it's a bug that keeps crippling in your mind. Okay, how
So
do I go do this?
that's the challenge. Like you have to challenge yourself. Like there is no stopping yourself. The moment you
Exactly.
stop, you die.
I'm living for business at this point. Like business বলতে পারো আমার তো like I don't have a life partner, but you can say that business is my wife. So yeah, uh, yeah, I just do business most of the time. This is what I enjoy doing. This is my passion. This is what I live for. So that's what I do most of it.
This is good. This is good. Okay, I have my like lots of questions. আমি মনে করি যে সবার একটু কোয়েশ্চেন করা উচিত। প্লিজ ডু আস্ক।
Yes, তাজ ভাই প্লিজ একটু মানুষদের একটু টাইম দাও। আচ্ছা আমি করি একটু তুমি রিচ ড্যাড পোর ড্যাড টিয়া বলছিলা, ওইটা আই ডু অলসো ফলো হিম, ইউটিউবে অনেক ভিডিও দেখছি। বাট আই হ্যাভ দিস কোয়েশ্চেন, লাইক উনি যেসব বলে which is very risky, লোন নিয়ে লাইক উইদাউট এনি মানি লোন নিয়ে দেন অ্যাসেট গেইন করো, দেন ওই অ্যাসেটটাকে সেল করো, দেন লোনটা পে করো, লাইক ইট হ্যাজ এ ভেরি রিস্ক। তুমি যদি লাইক ওই প্রফিটটা না পাও, লোনটা না পে করতে পারো, দেন ইউ আর অনেক বড় একটা। সো ডু ইউ থিঙ্ক দ্যাট হিজ স্ট্র্যাটেজি উইল ওয়ার্ক ইন বাংলাদেশ পার্সপেক্টিভ, অর ইটস সামথিং দ্যাট লাইক যদি এসব people that follow করি, they're most of saying things in US perspective, USA perspective, তো দেখা যায় বাংলাদেশে অ্যাপ্লাই হইতেও পারে, নাও হইতে পারে। what do you think about that Robert Kiyosaki's strategy about taking loan and paying with others money?
Bangladesh, I would say the problem is with our root level. So everything, I feel like Bangladesh has great potential though. Like it has great potential, trust me. If I had to pick a country, ধরো যে বাংলাদেশের কন্ডিশন এখন খুবই ভালো, কোনো ঝামেলার মতো মানুষ নাই, people are not trying to bring people down, I would definitely do business in Bangladesh. You will see countless of entrepreneurs coming back to Bangladesh, creating their own startups. Chalal শুরু হইছে, so many I think I spoke with ওই যে পাথর product manager Ahmed Fahad. I don't know if you know him, but he was telling me that একটা
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
startup শুরু হইছে বাংলাদেশে, who's literally gathering data for the public sector. Even cybersecurity নিয়ে some people are working. So Bangladesh is a great country because এদিকে market gaps অনেক বেশি, এদিকে opportunities, but এদিকে
Yeah,
the thing that
definitely,
strikes me the
definitely.
most, that really saddens me, is the people in this country sometimes. Because it, Mhm.
Yeah, like
না বলো বলো
yeah, sorry, continue. I was saying, like, I heard a quote from a guy,
Rabi Khan.
Naval Kijani, who's like, he said, yeah, he said that like developing countries have more opportunities for entrepreneurs than developed countries, because developing countries are like, you have seen from developed countries that that thing might work and how that will, the path came on. You have seen in developed countries, এটা কাজ করছে. So there is a chance that developing countries are core based. So there is that
Right,
leverage.
right. But yes, regardless, ধরো বাংলাদেশের ওইসব problems নাই, নাহলে বাংলাদেশ would be a very good country for entrepreneurship. But since বাংলাদেশে কিছু ঝামেলা আছে, people don't like to give out loans that much. আহ বাংলাদেশে ব্যাংকসেও তেমন লোন, the amount that you need, মানুষ এটা নিলেও ঠিক মতো ইউটিলাইজ করতে চায় না. They are not open to new marketing methods. They always want to be stuck to posters sometimes. Knowledge gap, of course, is there. Bangladesh does have the potential, then again, people are rising. Knowledge gap to improve করা লাগবে, and then people need to have good ethics and morals এদিকে. That's about it. Like if they have their ethics and morals right, if they are willing to work with people, collaborate with them, they are pretty good to go.
Yeah, true. আচ্ছা, তুমি বলছিলা লাইক তুমি হোম বায়ারদের লাইক যারা হোম সেল করবে বাসা সেল করবে তাদের থেকে তুমি লিস্ট নাও, দেন তুমি এটা ডাবল প্রাইসে বেচো উইথ প্রফিট। লাইক তুমি যদি এখন বাসাটা নাও অ্যান্ড ইউ ক্যান নট ফাইন্ড দ্য বায়ার, তখন তুমি কি করো? লাইক বাসাটা নিলা, দেন
Are you
সামথিং ওয়েন্ট
are
রং,
you
লাইক
talking
বাসায়
about
সমস্যা বা
Airbnb,
ইট
or
ওয়াজ
are you talking about wholesaling? আচ্ছা,
হোলসেলিং।
কি করি? Okay, good question. What we do is we have it under contract with the seller, right? So we
ইয়েস।
actually have our own terms এদিকে। Like আমরা আমাদের একটা contingency clause তাদেরকে দিয়ে দিই যে okay, uh, we're going to be going over the property. If we like the property, 2 week একটা 2 weeks একটা notice থাকে. If we don't buy the property, we can simply just decline 2 weeks এর মধ্যে. এই 2 weeks এর মধ্যেই we actually hook them up with a buyer, and then we, sell the properties. But এদিকে if we are not being able to find a buyer, we just cancel the
স্মার্ট।
contract at the very moment. And they're pretty chill with it. They just know that there's a chance that we might actually cancel up on the property. So that's how we operate actually.
That's that's smart. I mean, yeah, like ওরা তো আসলে বায়ার খুঁজতেছে না, you are the one who is finding the
Yeah.
buyer and
We
connecting
are the
the
middleman.
buyer
We are
with
the
the property.
middleman.
So
So yeah.
mm,
Middle
yeah,
middlemen make a
yeah,
lot of money
nice.
though. Like I've seen lenders make so much money.
Indeed.
Lenders make so much money. It's crazy how much money they make. Private money lenders, they make a lot of money. But since interest is haram, we cannot do anything about it. But এদিকে, of course, I think one of my biggest goals in life, Amita, I journal a lot, by the way. You guys should do it as well if you guys want to. Uh, I was planning to do something innovative. So I came across this term. Islamic finance needs to be reintroduced into the culture. So
Hmm.
দেখা যাচ্ছে যে যেদিকেই যায় না কেন, interest আসতেছে বারবার, and there's no way to escape it মাঝে মাঝে। Like the scope is so low. Like তুমি interest থেকে যে ছাড় নিবা, it is getting harder and harder day by day. We are moving towards a cashless society. Everything is getting digitalized, and we are forced to use banks more often. So এখান থেকে দেখা যাচ্ছে যে এই যে ইন্টারেস্টের এই যে জ্বালাটা, ইন্টারেস্ট দেওয়া বা নেওয়া, এটা ঘুরে ফিরে এসে পড়তেছে। যেমন কি in the US, ইন্টারেস্ট থেকে ছাড় নেওয়া is pretty much close to impossible. People even use credit cards for their Starbucks or coffee. তারা ওভারড্রাফটে এসে পড়ে using Dunkin' Donuts. এমন একটা অবস্থা। So yeah, মানে Islamic finance needs to be reintroduced, especially for the Muslim people. So this is what I want to do regardless of making money, because feel like this is a purposeful goal to have. This is what I actually want to do in the future after I'm done accumulating the wealth that I want. Because of course, to do that I would need a lot of money as well. So yeah, these are just milestones. Okay, real estate, private equity, then doing things that actually bring value to the society. So this is what I plan to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I think I agree
But
with you.
yeah, guys, just to give you guys a really clear idea যদি তোমরা overthink করে না বসো, if you want to create wealth, three things you need to focus on. Number one, তিনটা অ্যাসেট যেটা তোমাকে extremely wealthy বানাবে. It even made Elon Musk really wealthy. তিনটা জিনিস. Number one is of course real estate. Number two is private equity, buying businesses, and number three is intellectual property. What do I mean by that? What is meant by intellectual properties? Basically, a lot like a passion project. ঠিক আছে? it could be anything. It could be making jets. It could be starting a YouTube channel and growing a brand of it. And it could be anything that you love. Something very intellectually that you're attracted to. Something that is that you're passionate about. Passion is not always the right thing to follow, honestly. If you're starting from the very beginning, ধরো তোমার কাছে টাকাই নেই and you're saying that, okay, I will follow my passion. If you want to make money really quickly, following your passion at that very moment is a very bullshit advice. Because তুমি যদি এখন রাস্তায় গান গাও, overnight, মানে even the slightest chance to make a shit ton of money is not possible. But after you're done being where you want to be, if you're financially stable, then invest time in your passion, do what you love, and grow it. So তখন you can actually grow it. So intellectual properties, uh, basically passion projects, private equity, and real estate. These things, if you do it correctly, you can make a lot of money out of it. So these are the three things that I personally am planning to use. For example, if you guys notice the pattern, I got into real estate. I'm trying to get into private equity, and after that, I have my own passion project or my own, মানে, you know, creative things, Islamic finance and whatnot. So yeah,
Oh, damn, yeah, I can
yes.
see that out.
So a lot of
Yes.
fields I'm still exploring as an entrepreneur. I'm still exploring. There's going to be quantum finance also, which is interesting. আমরা quantum physics শুনছি, but we never heard about quantum finance. So that is really interesting. People are creating windmill farms in the US to generate billions of dollars. Hydroelectricity is another part of it. So yeah, basically বলতে পারো that if you're a serial entrepreneur, it's a really fun game to play. Entrepreneurship is a really fun game to play if you're a serial entrepreneur. But if you want to be like Haji Virani, own one business for 100 years, for sure, you can get a really good cash flow if you're able to establish a brand. That's up to you. But I personally, I enjoy building businesses. I enjoy the process. I enjoy building things. So that's what I'm going to do, Artie.
I mean, there is an interesting thing you said, like, if, like, for earning purpose, don't follow your passion. Like, what do you mean by that? Because then real estate isn't your passion, right? Or it's just something you are doing
Okay, I
for
have this
money.
thing about
Like,
passion. Okay, what makes a passion a passion?
something you like to do and you don't get bored, or you can do it like every day and not complain
I
about
disagree
it.
on this. Do you know why? Because Edige, if you
Yeah.
actually do something every single day,
Hmm.
people say that they do it
Hmm.
every single day, but do they actually do it every single day? They don't, Kintu. And the what makes a passion is that you find something. Let's say that you're really passionate about art. So you actually found something,
Hmm.
you got good at it and it in a really short time, and then you start to think, okay, I'm really good at this, I should do
Hmm.
more of this. So you start to like it more because you're actually getting good at this. তোমার family members বলতেছে, oh, you're really good at art. So actually তারপরে তুমি এটাকে তোমার passion এর মধ্যে পরিণত করে ফেলো। তুমি বলো যে, okay, this is my passion, this is what I love to do because I'm getting instant gratification out of this. আমি এটাতে অনেক জলদি অনেক ভালো হয়ে গেছি and whatnot. This goes the same.
I think that's talent. That's talent. Because তুমি short time এটা ভালো হয়ে গেছো, and there's something it like a talent thing would do, like talent person, like তুমি এটাতে অনেক talented এর জন্য it comes out like easily for you and you can learn it faster than others.
Ace, you mean intelligence, like talent, I think is not the right word. I
It,
think anyone can learn anything as long as they're willing to put the effort. I think having growth mindset is really important. So getting good at something, if you have growth mindset, if you're willing to improve, if you're willing to put the effort, you can get good at anything, even better than the people who are passionate about it. So yes, having growth mindset will outnumber every passionate guy. You will see a lot of quotes বাইরে যে ওকে obsession beats talent, এই জিনিসটা অনেক শুনবা। I'm pretty sure সবাই শুনছো। So what that means actually is
yeah,
if you're willing to put the effort, if you have a growth mindset, you can get good at anything you want. Actually anything you want. Because we are all humans কিন্তু what's different about us? Unless you're physically ill or you're mentally something, মানে তোমার একটু mental issues আছে। Other than that, if you're a normal human being, if you're fully functioning, you're a human and the person who is successful is a human as well. What matters is the effort. Are you willing to put that much amount of effort? So that's where the line draws, I think.
and that's a
So
interesting
passion
thing.
in itself is actually the thing that you get good at really quick, and then you feel like you're really good at it, and then it transformed into a passion. Because I was really passionate about beatboxing at মানে 2016 এর দিকে. I was really passionate about music,
Mm.
but it wasn't making me money. And then I learned about real estate. First অনেক boring লাগছে. I hated it. আস্তে আস্তে I got really good at it. I started enjoying it. Now I can technically say that it is my passion. Why? Because I'm really good at it. So that's where it lies, Arki. People might have different perspectives, and that's fine. But this is how I see it. And I feel like this is how almost a lot of people see it. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs tell the same thing. So yeah, this is my take on passion thing. Because if you're starting from the scratch, your primary objective should be to make money.
Yeah,
Once.
what would you suggest to young people then? Because young people আমি like অনেক question দেখছি করে like what should I do for the future and which career
Hmm.
path should I follow? I would suggest just explore from different people and see what is your passion is, what you like to do. It might be taking photo or it might be coding
Mm-hmm.
something like programming language. But তোমার থেকে আমি একটা different answer পাইতেছি, which is like do the thing which is like a future demand আছে, টাকা আসবে জলদি, to that. তোমার
Right.
থেকে আমি অ্যান্সারটা পাইতেছি। So like am I correct, or like should I like like should they follow like যেখানে future আছে instead of following their passion?
Well, yes, most of the cases. Amboli, there are two categories of people. Number one, who are coming from the very downs and lows, coming from a low income background. They have experienced a lot of things in their childhood. They have experienced the feeling of feeling broke. তাদের খাবার জুটতো না, rent নাই বাসার, been through the worst financial distress. You will meet these kind of people, and you'll meet another group of people who are very financially blessed. They have a very decent lifestyle. They're being able to fulfill their needs. So if I had to tell to the person who's coming from a low income background, their deprivation of money would be very high. They need money at that moment. So তখন দেখা যাবে যে they will not care about the passion. Because তারা যে কাজটা করবে, the gift, the reward is the capability to acquire things, the capability to fulfill their needs, which is money. They do that by acquiring money. So তখন passion জিনিসটা applicable না, because তুমি ধরো জিনিসটা যে okay, let's say that I'm গরিব and I'm starting from the really deep down low. If I go into the streets, আমার ফ্যামিলির অবস্থা খুবই বাজে, I cannot even pursue my passion তখন। তখন let's say I'm passionate about music. How can I pursue music তখন? আমার ইনস্ট্রুমেন্ট কেনার টাকা নাই থাকতে পারে। I might not even be capable enough to reach out to artists to compose my music. A lot of barriers. I need to make money out of something.
Mm,
There are always money involved. So if I were to start from the very beginning, starting from a low income background, um, I would first make myself financially stable. কারণ if you're not financially stable তোমার যদি mental peace টা না থাকে, you cannot go all out on your passion তখন। একটা stress থাকবে।
makes sense. That makes sense. So what's
Well,
for
they
the
have it really
other
easy.
person?
They have it
Jay
really easy.
financially stable.
দেখা যায় যে most of the time their parents own a lot of properties. They're very much stable even for the future. Even if they don't work sometimes, they will have something to cover them up. So they are bought up very secured. So তাদের তেমন একটা risk থাকে না। Okay, someone wrote even then it's at its lowest. I'm not sure what you mean. If you could please elaborate on that. Okay, by the
Yeah,
hmm
sweet. So Mezba, so I am getting is if I am financially stable, then I could follow my passion, and if I am not financially stable, of course I need money. So I should do the thing which gives me instant money
Well,
legally.
yes, but there are some exceptions, of course.
Yeah,
But yeah, there are different exceptions to this, of course. But most of the majority of the cases, I feel like that's the route you should take if you're coming from a low income background. If you're coming from somewhere where you cannot afford to even follow your passion, তখন you should definitely take that path because তখন you're going to be seeing that you're deprived of money. But other than that, if you belong from a really good family, you're very financially stable, then of course, follow your passion. Do what you love. Why not? There's nothing holding you back, তখন. But the exceptions that I talked about is that you will see football players who started from the really low as well. So there could be a debate, yeah, okay, Mejba. People who are footballers actually started from the really down. Like they started from their lowest and they got the opportunity to play at clubs. So that's where luck plays into a role. So if you're lucky enough, sure, that can work out. That's an exception. But if you're thinking realistically and logically without accounting luck, then of course, working for it would be a very viable choice.
I mean, that's the sad reality, isn't it? As long as you've got so much money to throw, you could try and experiment different ideas. One fails, and you don't mind because to you, 5 lakh taka might not mean a lot, but for some, that's a big asset that they can't afford to lose at any time, and that's the sad reality. You can't play with it.
Exactly.
There are many history where we can see certain entrepreneurs. Let's talk about Elon Musk. He's as portrayed as poor he is. His father used to own a Rolls Royce and he used to go to school in his Rolls Royce, his father's Rolls Royce. But then everybody, for some reason, they portray that he came from a broke and poor family. It doesn't happen that. It's not fairy tale. That only happens in fairy tale.
I see. Well, you're right. There are
yeah.
exceptions, as I told you. But yeah, people have different stories, but most of the majority of the cases that I've seen, uh, I'm speaking from my perspective. So if people have different perspective on these, sure, go ahead. You can follow what you want to follow. But um, the where I'm coming from is that I was born and raised in a low income family, so that's where I started, and that's how I planned my journey, and that's how I took the decisions, and that's how it treated me. So, which is why I provided this advice to everyone. But then again, you should always think about the advice that you're receiving, have an opinion on that, of course, and then take the advice into account. So whatever advice I'm giving, it's just purely based on my life experiences. So yeah, Elon Musk.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I didn't really mean completely leaning, to my opinion, the only rich and wealthy ones make towards the top. It's also those who have gained exceptional experiences in the bottom. You see, what in the UK, I'm sure it's also a practice in the US, because they're not all wealthy as we think they are, as we think the Americans are. So what they do in the UK is that since the age of 16, parents kick out of their home their kids. Obviously, it's not the parent who kick their kids out of home, but also children, they step out of their home, they go find a girlfriend or partner for themselves, they work at the very bottom of the businesses, like customer care experience, sales, and then they work their way towards the top. By the time they have finished their honors or master's degree, they probably are some executive level, or they're probably working on their, even though they have to work in their family business, still they do the lowest part bit. Because I've known one of my colleagues back in the UK, he used to be a white English person, and his father had some businesses, printing businesses all on. He was quite wealthy. And even though he had his own car, obviously he could afford, maybe because of his father's business, he used to work for the lowest bit of his father's business. So he was at the, at the last level of the employment. I understand why he was there, because he was hardly at his 17 years old. Now, what our 17-year-old does, I'm not talking for all, but if we were to have a wealthy parent, we would be probably lying in our bedroom, resting on our couch, watching TV, and our 17 years old. So yes, tourism differs, and but the overall point here is it works on person to person case, isn't it?
I mean, it অনেকক্ষণ হয়ে গেছে, so I think we should end the recording. Um, I mean, it was lovely having you, Mejba, today. Like a lot of information and a lot of questions to ask, but time constraint এর জন্য we have to end the recording. Maybe if you want, we can have another day with you and ask the question, new question and stuff.